What lies beyond the universe? Somewhere, right now, someone is looking up. Maybe it is you. Maybe you are lying in the dark, eyes half closed, wondering if sleep will come soon. Maybe the room around you is quiet, and the only sound is your own breathing, slow and steady, like the tide pulling back from shore. Outside your window, whether you can see it or not, the night sky is there. It has always been there, and within it, scattered like dust across black velvet, the stars are burning. They have been burning for billions of years. They will continue long after this moment passes. And somewhere between their ancient light and your quiet breath, a question waits. The same question that has waited for every person who ever tilted their head back and looked up. What is out there? What lies beyond everything we can see? What exists on the other side of the universe? It is a question that sounds simple at first, almost childlike. The kind of thing you might have asked when you were very young, lying in the grass on a summer night, staring at the sky until the stars began to blur. But the simplicity is an illusion. Behind it lies something vast, something that even the greatest minds in history have struggled to answer. And perhaps that is why it feels right to ask it now, in this quiet hour, when there is no pressure to solve anything. When you can simply let the question sit beside you, like an old friend, and see where it leads. Tonight, we are going to wander through that question together. Not quickly, not with any urgency. There is nowhere we need to arrive. No test at the end. No destination demanding our attention. We are simply going to walk slowly through ideas, pausing wherever feels right, letting each thought unfold at its own pace. And if, somewhere along the way, you begin to drift, that is perfectly fine. The question will still be here. The stars will still be burning. And the mystery will wait, patient as it has always been, until you are ready to return. Before we begin, I want to ask you something small. Where are you right now? Are you lying in bed, the covers pulled close, the room dim and soft around you? Is it late, the kind of late where the world outside has gone quiet, where even the traffic has faded into silence? Or is it early, those strange hours before dawn when the darkness feels different, almost tender, like it is holding its breath before the sun returns? Wherever you are, whatever time has found you, you are welcome here. And in a way that is hard to explain, we are sharing something. You and I, and everyone else who has ever looked up at the night sky and wondered. We are all asking the same question. We are all part of the same quiet reaching. Let us start with something simple. Something you already know, even if you have never thought about it in quite this way. When you look up at the night sky, you are not seeing the present. You are seeing the past. The stars you can make out with your naked eye, the ones that seem to hang motionless above you, are not showing you what they look like right now. They are showing you what they looked like years ago. Some of them, decades ago. A few, centuries. This is because light, fast as it is, still takes time to travel. And the distances between stars are so enormous that even light, moving at 300,000 kilometers every single second, needs years to cross them. Consider the nearest star beyond our sun. It is a small red star, dim and quiet, circling in the cosmic neighborhood just next door. And yet, the light you see from it tonight left its surface more than 4 years ago. When that light began its journey, you were somewhere else, doing something else, living a version of your life that no longer exists. By the time it reaches your eyes, everything has changed. And still the light arrives, carrying a message from the past, a whisper from a place you will never visit. Now extend that thought further. The stars you see are not alone. They belong to a galaxy, a vast spiraling collection of hundreds of billions of stars, all bound together by gravity, all drifting through space as a single immense structure. This is the Milky Way, our home. And when you look up at the band of soft light that stretches across the sky on a clear night, you are seeing the glow of countless stars too distant and too faint to make out individually. You are seeing the body of the galaxy we live inside, seen from within. But the Milky Way is not the only galaxy. It is not even close. Beyond it, scattered in every direction, are other galaxies. Billions of them. Each one is its own island of stars, its own vast collection of suns and worlds, separated from the others by distances so large that they defy imagination. The nearest large galaxy to ours is a spiral called Andromeda. You can see it on a dark night, a faint smudge of light, barely visible. But that smudge contains 1 trillion stars. And the light you see from it tonight left its source more than 2 million years ago. When that light began its journey, there were no humans. Our ancestors were still learning to walk upright. The world was a different place entirely. And yet the light kept traveling, crossing the void, patient and silent, until tonight, when it finally reached you. This is the first thing to understand about the universe. It is not just vast in space. It is vast in time. Every direction you look is a direction into the past. The farther away something is, the older the light that reaches you. And when astronomers point their telescopes at the most distant objects they can find, they are not just looking across space. They are looking back through time, billions of years, to an era when the universe itself was young, when galaxies were just beginning to form, when the stars we see today had not yet been born. And here is where the question begins to deepen. Because there is a limit to how far we can see. Not because our telescopes are too weak. Not because the light is too faint. But because of something more fundamental. Something built into the nature of the universe itself. Light travels at a finite speed. And the universe has only existed for a finite amount of time. Combine those two facts, and you arrive at a boundary. A horizon. A point beyond which light has not had enough time to reach us, no matter how long we wait. This boundary is not a wall. It is not something you could ever touch or see. It is simply the edge of what is knowable. The limit of what information can cross the void and arrive at our eyes. Scientists call this the observable universe. It is a sphere, centered on wherever you happen to be, stretching outward in every direction to a distance of about 4 to 6 billion light-years. Within that sphere lies everything we have ever seen. Every star, every galaxy, every whisper of light that has ever reached a human instrument. It is unimaginably large. It contains more galaxies than there are grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. And yet it is not the whole. Beyond the edge of what we can see, the universe continues. We cannot prove this directly. We cannot point a telescope at the regions beyond our horizon and capture an image. But we have every reason to believe it is true. The same laws of physics that govern our corner of the cosmos should govern those distant regions as well. The same patterns of matter and energy, the same galaxies and stars, the same slow dance of gravity and light. The universe does not end at the edge of our vision. It simply becomes invisible, hidden not by walls but by time. This is one of the strangest truths about existence. There are places in the universe that are real, that exist right now, that may be filled with stars and worlds and perhaps even life, but that we will never see. Not because we lack the technology, not because we are not looking hard enough, but because the universe itself has placed a limit on what can be known. The light from those regions will never reach us. They are beyond our horizon, now and forever. And yet, the strangeness does not end there. Because the universe is not standing still. Since the moment of its birth, nearly 14 billion years ago, space itself has been expanding. This is not like an explosion, where matter flies outward through empty space. It is something deeper, harder to picture. The fabric of space itself is stretching. The distance between galaxies is growing, not because the galaxies are moving through space, but because the space between them is increasing. Imagine drawing small dots on the surface of a balloon. Now imagine slowly inflating that balloon. As it expands, the dots move farther apart. Not because they are sliding across the surface, but because the surface itself is growing. This is roughly what is happening to the universe. The galaxies are the dots. The balloon is space. And the inflation has been going on for billions of years. The discovery of this expansion was one of the most profound moments in the history of science. In the early 20th century, astronomers began noticing something strange about distant galaxies. Their light was shifted toward the red end of the spectrum. This redshift, as it came to be called, was a sign that the galaxies were moving away from us. And the farther away a galaxy was, the faster it seemed to be receding. Not just some galaxies. All of them. In every direction. At first, this seemed impossible. How could everything be moving away from us? As if we were at the center of some vast explosion. But the answer turned out to be even stranger. We are not at the center. There is no center. From any point in the universe, every other point appears to be receding. The expansion is happening everywhere at once, stretching space itself, carrying everything with it. This has profound implications for what lies beyond. Because the expansion is accelerating, something is pushing the universe apart, faster and faster, and we do not fully understand what it is. Scientists call it dark energy. It makes up the majority of everything that exists. And yet it remains one of the deepest mysteries in all of physics. We know it is there because we can see its effects. Distant galaxies are receding faster than they should be. The rate of expansion is increasing over time. But the nature of dark energy, what it is made of, why it behaves the way it does, remains unknown. What we do know is this. Because of dark energy, the horizon of the observable universe is not fixed. It is changing. And it is changing in a troubling way. Galaxies that we can see today will not always be visible. As space continues to expand, some of them will cross the threshold. Their light, already stretched thin, will stretch further and further until it can no longer reach us. They will not be destroyed. They will still exist, still shine, still drift through their own regions of space. But from our perspective, they will vanish. One by one, over immense stretches of time, the distant galaxies will fade from view. Not because they have gone dark, but because the universe has grown too large for their light to cross. In the far future, if there are still observers here, the night sky will look very different. Most of the galaxies we see today will be gone. Only the local group, the small cluster of galaxies bound together by gravity, will remain visible. Everything else will have slipped beyond the horizon, carried away by expansion, lost to the growing darkness. This is not a catastrophe. It is simply the nature of things. The universe is not cruel. It is not indifferent in any personal sense. It simply operates according to laws that do not care about our preferences. And one of those laws is that expansion will continue, pulling the fabric of space ever thinner, stretching the distances between islands of matter until communication between them becomes impossible. But that future is unimaginably distant. Trillions of years from now. For the moment, for this brief window of cosmic time, we are lucky. We live in an era when the universe is still young enough, still connected enough, that we can see billions of galaxies in every direction. We can study the past. We can trace the history of the cosmos. We can ask questions like the one we are asking tonight. What lies beyond the universe? And perhaps we can begin to understand why the question is so difficult to answer. Because when we ask what lies beyond, we are not just asking about distance. We are asking about the nature of existence itself. We are asking whether there is an edge to everything, a place where reality stops and something else begins. We are asking whether our universe is the only one, or whether it is one of many. We are asking questions that may not have answers, at least not answers we can reach with the tools we have. And that uncertainty, rather than being frustrating, can be strangely peaceful. Because it means the mystery is still alive. It means there are still places for the mind to wander, still questions to sit with in the dark, still reasons to look up at the night sky and feel something close to wonder. Let that thought rest for a moment. Let it settle into the silence around you. The universe is vast. It is ancient. It is still expanding, still changing, still revealing itself in ways we are only beginning to understand. And you are part of it, not separate from it, not a spectator watching from outside. You are made of the same matter as the stars. The atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of suns that died long before the earth existed. The light that falls on your face when you step outside has traveled for years, for centuries, for millions of years, just to reach you. You belong to this. You are woven into it. And as you lie here, breathing slowly, letting your thoughts drift, you are participating in the same quiet reaching that has moved through every generation of humanity. The same wondering, the same looking up, The question of what lies beyond does not need an answer tonight. It is enough to hold it gently, to let it be a companion rather than a problem. The universe will still be there in the morning. The stars will still be burning. And the mystery will wait, patient as it has always been, until you are ready to return. For now, let your eyes grow heavy. Let the darkness around you feel soft, like a blanket, like a held breath. The cosmos is not cold in the way loneliness is cold. It is cold in the way stillness is cold. The way a winter night can be cold and yet beautiful. The way silence can be cold and yet full of peace. You are safe here. You are held by the same forces that hold the galaxies together. You are carried by the same expansion that carries everything outward. Your smallness is not a flaw. It is simply a perspective. One vantage point among countless others. Each one real. Each one valid. Each one a tiny window into the whole. And through that window, the universe looks back. Let us continue, quietly, into the next layer of the question. We have talked about the observable universe, the sphere of everything we can see. We have talked about expansion, the slow stretching of space that carries galaxies apart. We have touched on the horizon, the edge beyond which light cannot reach us. But there is more to consider. Because the question of what lies beyond is not just about distance. It is also about shape, about structure, about the geometry of existence itself. When you picture the universe, what do you imagine? Perhaps you see a vast emptiness, dotted with galaxies, stretching outward in every direction. Perhaps you imagine it as a kind of container, with walls somewhere far away, enclosing everything that exists. But the truth is stranger than either of these images. The universe is not a container. It does not sit inside anything. And its shape, its true geometry, is something that scientists are still trying to understand. One possibility is that the universe is infinite. Not just very large, but truly without end. In this picture, space goes on forever in every direction. There is no edge, no boundary, no place where you could say, here is where reality stops. If you could somehow travel in a straight line, you would never reach an end. You would simply keep going, passing galaxy after galaxy, forever. This is difficult to imagine. Our minds are not built for infinity. We are used to things that have edges, that can be measured, that fit inside boundaries. But infinity is not like that. It has no outside. It cannot be contained. And if the universe is infinite, then the question of what lies beyond becomes meaningless in a certain sense. There is no beyond. There is only more of the same, stretching endlessly in every direction. But there is another possibility. The universe could be finite, but without an edge. This sounds contradictory at first. How can something be finite? How can it have a limited size, without having a boundary? But consider the surface of a sphere. Imagine an ant walking across that surface. The ant can walk forever without ever reaching an edge. The surface has no boundary, no place where it stops. And yet it is finite. It has a measurable area. It curves back on itself. Space could work the same way. Not in 2 dimensions like the surface of a sphere, but in 3. If the universe is curved in certain ways, if it wraps around on itself in higher dimensions, then it could be finite in size but still have no edge. You could travel in a straight line and eventually return to where you started, having circled the entire cosmos without ever encountering a wall. Whether the universe is infinite or finite, flat or curved, open or closed, these are questions that scientists are still investigating. The evidence so far suggests that space is very close to flat, that its geometry is neither strongly curved inward nor outward. But flat geometry is consistent with both infinite extent and certain kinds of finite structures. The true shape of everything remains uncertain. And perhaps that is fitting. The universe does not owe us clarity. It does not promise that every question will have a neat answer. It simply is what it is, vast and complex and indifferent to our preferences. And part of what makes it beautiful is this refusal to be pinned down, this resistance to easy understanding. Let us sit with that for a moment. The shape of the universe, the question of whether it has an edge or goes on forever, these are not things we need to resolve tonight. They are simply ideas to hold, images to let drift through the mind, ways of stretching our imagination beyond its usual limits. And there is another layer still. Because even if we understood the shape of our universe perfectly, even if we knew whether it was infinite or finite, there would still be the question of whether it is alone. This is where the ideas become truly strange, where the boundary between physics and philosophy begins to blur, where the question of what lies beyond takes on meanings that no telescope can address. Some scientists believe that our universe may be only one of many, that beyond everything we can see, beyond even the regions past our horizon, there may be other universes entirely, other spaces, other times, other realities, each with its own history, its own laws, its own matter and energy. This idea, often called the multiverse, is not fantasy. It is not science fiction. It emerges naturally from certain theories in physics, particularly those that try to explain what happened in the very first moments after the Big Bang. One of these theories is called inflation. It proposes that in the first fraction of a second of existence, the universe expanded at an unimaginable rate, far faster than light, far faster than anything we can observe today. This rapid expansion smoothed out the early cosmos, setting the stage for everything that followed, for the formation of galaxies, for the slow dance of matter and gravity that eventually produced stars and planets and, in at least one case, life. But some versions of inflation suggest something remarkable. They suggest that the expansion did not stop everywhere at once. That in some regions, inflation continued, creating new bubbles of space, new universes, each one expanding on its own, each one potentially developing its own laws of physics, its own structures, its own possibilities. If this is true, then our universe is like a single bubble in an endless foam. There are other bubbles out there, other universes, separated from us not just by distance but by the very fabric of reality. They are not far away in any direction we could point. They are elsewhere in a deeper sense, disconnected from our space, unreachable by any journey. This is one version of what lies beyond. Not more of the same, but something entirely different. Other realms of existence, other expressions of possibility, other answers to the question of what reality can be. And there are other versions still. Quantum mechanics, the branch of physics that describes the behavior of matter at the smallest scales, offers its own strange possibilities. In the quantum world, particles do not have definite properties until they are observed. They exist in superpositions, multiple states at once, until a measurement forces them to choose. And one interpretation of this behavior, known as the many worlds interpretation, suggests that every possible outcome actually happens. That whenever a quantum event occurs, the universe branches into multiple versions, each one containing a different result. If this is true, then there are not just other universes beyond our horizon. There are other versions of this universe, branching constantly, splitting with every quantum event. Somewhere, in some branch, you made a different choice this morning. Somewhere, the coin landed the other way. Somewhere, everything is almost the same, and somewhere else, everything is unrecognizably different. These ideas are speculative. They have not been proven. They may never be provable, at least not directly. But they are taken seriously by physicists because they arise from our best theories, because they offer possible answers to questions that otherwise have none, because they push the boundaries of what we think we know. And whether or not they are true, they serve a purpose. They remind us that reality may be far larger than we imagine. That what we call the universe, vast as it is, may be only a small part of something greater. That the question of what lies beyond may have answers we cannot currently conceive. Let that thought settle. Let it sit beside you in the dark, strange and quiet, like a guest you do not yet fully understand. The universe, or the collection of universes, may be stranger than any single picture we have built. And that is not a failure of understanding. It is simply the shape of the mystery, the edge of what we know, the beginning of what we do not. And even here, even at the furthest reaches of imagination, there is no need for urgency, no pressure to resolve anything. The ideas are vast, but they are also patient. They have waited for billions of years. They can wait a little longer. For now, you can simply rest. You can let your mind wander through these possibilities without needing to choose between them. Infinite space. Finite but unbounded. Other universes. Branching realities. They are all ways of imagining what might be. And the imagining itself is valuable. It stretches the mind. It opens doors. It keeps the question alive. And the question is what matters. Not the answer. The question. What lies beyond the universe? It is a question that has been asked for as long as humans have been human. And it will continue to be asked long after we are gone. Each generation adds something to the conversation. Each new discovery shifts the horizon a little further. And the question remains, unchanged, waiting to be asked again. You are part of that conversation now. Simply by wondering. Simply by listening. Simply by letting the question sit beside you in the dark. The night sky is outside your window, whether you can see it or not. The stars are burning. The galaxies are drifting. The universe is expanding, slowly, silently, carrying everything with it. And you are here, breathing slowly, resting quietly, part of the whole. Let that be enough for now. Let the mystery hold you gently. Let the vastness be a comfort rather than a threat. You are small against the cosmos, but you are not lost. You are not alone. You are connected to everything, made of the same stuff, moved by the same forces, asking the same questions that have echoed through every generation. The universe does not demand that you understand it. It does not require your attention or your belief. It simply is. Vast and quiet and full of secrets. And you have the capacity to wonder about it. To imagine what might lie beyond. To feel something close to or, even in the dark, even on the edge of sleep. That capacity is rare. Out of all the matter in the cosmos, only a tiny fraction has organized itself into beings who can look up and ask why. You are one of those beings. And tonight, in this moment, you have joined a long tradition. A line of curious minds stretching back through every generation. Through every culture. Through every language that has ever had a word for star. The question of what lies beyond is yours now. You do not need to answer it. You only need to hold it. To let it rest beside you. To feel its weight and its wonder. And as you drift, as your thoughts begin to soften, as the edges of wakefulness blur into something gentler, know that the question will still be here. The stars will still be burning. The mystery will wait. Rest now. The universe is patient. And so is the night. The night continues, as it always has. Slow and unhurried, carrying its silence like something precious. And if you are still here, still listening, still drifting somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, then let us continue together. There is no rush. There never was. The universe has been unfolding for nearly 14 billion years. It can spare a few more moments for us to wander through its mysteries. We have traveled far already. We have looked at the night sky and seen it not as a ceiling but as a window into the past. We have traced the edges of what can be known, the horizon of the observable universe, that invisible boundary beyond which light has not had time to reach us. We have felt the slow stretch of expansion, the way space itself grows, carrying galaxies apart like leaves on a rising tide. And we have glimpsed the possibility that our universe may not be alone, that beyond everything we can see there may be other realms entirely, other expressions of existence, other answers to questions we have not yet learned to ask. But there is more to consider. Because the question of what lies beyond is not only about what is out there, it is also about what is hidden, what remains unseen even within the universe we inhabit. And this is where the mystery deepens in ways that are both humbling and strangely beautiful. Let us begin with something that sounds almost paradoxical. Most of the universe is invisible. Not invisible in the way distant galaxies are invisible, hidden by time and distance. Invisible in a more fundamental sense. Made of something that does not emit light, does not absorb light, does not interact with light at all. Something that passes through ordinary matter like a whisper through a dream, leaving no trace except the faint pull of its gravity. Scientists call this dark matter, and it makes up roughly a quarter of everything that exists. The story of its discovery is a quiet one, as most important discoveries are. In the middle of the 20th century, astronomers began measuring the rotation of galaxies. They expected to find that stars near the edges of galaxies moved more slowly than stars near the center, just as planets farther from the sun orbit more slowly than those close to it. But that is not what they found. The stars at the edges were moving just as fast as those in the middle, sometimes faster, as if the galaxies contained far more mass than the visible stars could account for. At first, this seemed like a mistake, a problem with the measurements. But the pattern held. Galaxy after galaxy showed the same behavior. And when astronomers looked at clusters of galaxies, vast collections containing thousands of galaxies bound together by gravity, they found the same thing. The clusters were moving too fast. They should have flown apart long ago, scattered by their own motion. But something was holding them together. Something invisible. That something is dark matter. We do not know what it is made of. We have never detected it directly, despite decades of searching. But we know it is there because we can see its effects. It bends light through gravitational lensing, curving the images of distant galaxies into arcs and rings. It shapes the structure of the cosmos, guiding the formation of galaxies and the web-like filaments that connect them. Without dark matter, the universe would look very different. The galaxies we see, the clusters they form, the patterns they trace across the sky, none of it would exist in its current form. And yet dark matter is only part of the invisible majority. There is something else. Something even more mysterious, even more pervasive. Something that makes up nearly 70% of the universe and yet remains almost completely beyond our understanding. Dark energy. We mentioned it earlier, when we talked about the acceleration of expansion. But let us dwell on it a moment longer. Because dark energy is one of the deepest puzzles in all of science. And the more you think about it, the stranger it becomes. In the late 20th century, astronomers set out to measure the rate at which the universe was expanding. They expected to find that expansion was slowing down. After all, gravity is attractive. It pulls matter together. The combined gravity of all the galaxies in the universe should have been acting like a brake, gradually slowing the outward rush that began with the Big Bang. But that is not what they found. When they looked at distant supernova, exploding stars that serve as cosmic yardsticks, they discovered something astonishing. The expansion was not slowing. It was speeding up. The universe was accelerating, flying apart faster and faster, as if pushed by some invisible force. That force is dark energy, and despite years of study, we still do not know what it is. It could be a property of space itself, a kind of energy inherent to the fabric of the cosmos, present everywhere, constant and unchanging. Or it could be something more dynamic, a field that varies across space and time, evolving in ways we have not yet detected. Some theories suggest it might be related to the vacuum of space, to the energy that exists even in emptiness. Others propose modifications to our understanding of gravity itself. But none of these explanations have been confirmed. Dark energy remains a placeholder, a name for something we observe but do not understand. It is the dominant component of the universe, the force that will shape its ultimate fate, and yet it is almost entirely hidden from us. This is one of the most remarkable truths about existence. When you look at the night sky, when you see the stars and galaxies scattered across the darkness, you are seeing less than 5% of what is actually there. The rest is invisible. Dark matter, shaping the structures you can see. Dark energy, driving the expansion that carries everything apart. Together, they make up more than 95% of the cosmos. And yet they remain beyond our direct perception, known only by their effects, sensed only through the subtle ways they influence the matter we can observe. What does this mean for the question of what lies beyond? It means that even within our own universe, there are layers of reality we cannot touch. There are forces at work that we do not understand. There are components of existence that pass through us constantly, unnoticed, undetected, as real as the chair you sit in but utterly invisible to every instrument we have built. The beyond is not only out there, past the horizon. It is also here, woven into the fabric of everything, hidden in plain sight. And perhaps there is something comforting in this, because it means that mystery is not something we have to travel to find. It is already present, already close, already part of the world you inhabit. The unknown is not a distant country. It is the very ground beneath your feet, the air you breathe, the darkness that surrounds you now. Let that thought rest for a moment. Let it settle into the quiet. You are immersed in mystery. You always have been. Every breath you take passes through a cosmos that is mostly invisible, mostly unexplained, mostly beyond the reach of current understanding. And that is not frightening. It is simply true. The universe is larger than our knowledge. It always has been. And perhaps it always will be. There is another way to think about what lies beyond. Not in terms of space or distance or invisible forces, but in terms of time. We have talked about how looking outward is looking backward, how the light from distant stars carries information from the past. But there is a limit to how far back we can see, a wall beyond which the universe becomes opaque. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, the cosmos was filled with a hot, dense fog of particles. Light could not travel freely. Photons were constantly absorbed and re-emitted, scattered in every direction, trapped in the chaos of the primordial soup. This continued for hundreds of thousands of years, until the universe cooled enough for atoms to form. When that happened, the fog cleared. Light was suddenly free to travel. And the first photons that escaped that clearing have been traveling ever since. We can still see them today. They are the oldest light in the universe, stretched by billions of years of expansion into microwaves, spread evenly across the sky. Scientists call this the cosmic microwave background. It is the farthest back we can see with light, the edge of visibility in time. Beyond it lies the truly ancient universe, the first moments of existence, the era before atoms, before light could travel freely, before the cosmos became transparent. We cannot see this era directly, but we can infer things about it from the patterns in the cosmic microwave background, from the distribution of galaxies, from the mathematics of our theories. And what we find there is both fascinating and frustrating. The very earliest moments, the first tiny fractions of a second, remain shrouded in uncertainty. Our best theories break down. The equations that describe the universe so well at later times become unreliable, spitting out infinities and contradictions. We believe that all of space, all of matter, all of energy was once compressed into a state of unimaginable density and temperature. But what that state was like, what caused it, what if anything came before it, these are questions we cannot yet answer. This is another kind of beyond. Not a beyond in space, but a beyond in time. A region of existence that is hidden not by distance but by the limits of our theories. The beginning of everything, if there was a beginning, lies past a horizon we have not yet crossed. Some scientists speculate that the Big Bang was not the true beginning, that our universe may have emerged from something else, some prior state, some larger structure. Perhaps the cosmos cycles, expanding and contracting, dying and being reborn. Perhaps it budded off from another universe, a child born from a parent. Perhaps time itself is not linear, not a simple arrow pointing from past to future, but something more complex, something that folds back on itself in ways we cannot imagine. These are possibilities. They are not answers, but they remind us that the question of what lies beyond applies not only to space but to time. Not only to the edges of the universe but to its origin. The past, like the distant regions of space, may contain realms we cannot access, truths we cannot verify, mysteries that will outlast us. And this is fitting, because the universe does not owe us completeness. It does not promise that every question will be resolved. It offers us a vast, unfolding story, and it invites us to participate, to ask, to wonder. But it does not guarantee that we will ever reach the final page. Let us shift now, gently, to something older still. Something that predates science, that predates telescopes and theories, that stretches back to the earliest days of human awareness. For as long as people have looked at the night sky, they have asked what lies beyond. The question is not new. It is one of the oldest questions there is. In ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of early civilization, priests and scholars watched the stars with careful attention. They recorded the movements of planets. They noted the cycles of the moon. And they imagined the heavens as the dwelling place of gods, a realm above and beyond the world of mortals. The stars were not just lights. They were divine messengers. And the sky was a threshold, a boundary between the known world and something greater. In Egypt, the Nile shaped everything, including the cosmos. The sky was a river of stars, a mirror of the earthly river that gave life to the land. The dead were believed to travel among the stars, joining the gods in an eternal journey. The beyond was not empty. It was populated, purposeful, woven into the fabric of existence. In Greece, philosophers debated the nature of the heavens with remarkable insight. Some proposed that the stars were fixed to a great sphere that enclosed the earth. Others suggested that space might be infinite, filled with countless worlds. The questions they asked, about the shape of the cosmos, about what lies beyond the visible, are still being asked today. In India, the ancient texts spoke of cycles within cycles, of universes that expanded and collapsed, of time that stretched across unimaginable spans. The beyond was not a single place but a rhythm, a pattern, an eternal dance of creation and destruction. In China, the heavens were linked to order and harmony. The movements of the stars reflected the balance of the cosmos. The emperor ruled under the mandate of heaven, and the sky was a map of cosmic authority. Across every culture, in every language, people found ways to imagine what lay beyond the visible world. They told stories. They built temples. They created rituals that connected the earthly and the celestial. And in doing so, they were participating in the same act of wondering that continues today. The details have changed. The myths have given way to measurements. The gods have been replaced by equations. But the impulse is the same. The desire to know what lies beyond. The need to reach past the edges of the known and touch, even if only in imagination, the vastness that surrounds us. This is not a weakness. It is not a relic of a less enlightened age. It is one of the deepest and most enduring aspects of being human. We are creatures who ask questions. We cannot help it. The universe made us this way, and now we turn and look back at it, trying to understand what we are and where we came from and what, if anything, waits beyond the horizon. And perhaps this is the most important thing to hold on to. Not any particular answer to the question of what lies beyond, but the question itself. The act of asking. The willingness to wonder. Because the question connects us. It links us to every person who has ever looked up at the night sky, across every age and every culture. It ties us to the future, to the generations who will continue asking long after we are gone. And it opens something within us, a space for awe, for humility, for the recognition that we are part of something far larger than ourselves. The universe does not need our understanding to exist. It does not require our attention. But we are richer for giving it. We are more fully human when we allow ourselves to wonder. Let us turn now to something that might seem abstract at first but is deeply connected to everything we have explored. The question of limits. The question of what can be known. Physics, the science that describes the universe at its most fundamental level, is remarkably powerful. It has given us equations that predict the behavior of matter and energy with astonishing precision. It has allowed us to build technologies that would have seemed like magic to earlier generations. It has revealed the structure of atoms, the nature of light, the geometry of space and time. But physics also tells us where knowledge stops. There are questions that our current theories cannot answer. There are regions of existence that remain inaccessible, not because we have not looked hard enough, but because the laws of nature themselves create barriers. The speed of light is one such barrier. Nothing can travel faster. No information can cross space more quickly. This is not a limitation of technology. It is a fundamental feature of the universe. And it means that there are regions beyond our horizon that we will never be able to reach, never be able to observe, no matter how much time passes. The Planck scale is another barrier. At the smallest distances, at the highest energies, our theories break down. Quantum mechanics and general relativity, the two great pillars of modern physics, contradict each other in these extreme conditions. We do not yet have a theory that unifies them, that describes what happens at the Planck scale. And until we do, the very earliest moments of the universe, the very smallest structures of reality, will remain hidden. These are not failures of science. They are features of the universe. They are reminders that reality is larger than our understanding, that the cosmos does not arrange itself for our convenience. And in a strange way, this is reassuring. It means that mystery is not going to run out. It means that there will always be more to discover, more to wonder about, more questions to ask. The limits of knowledge are not walls. They are horizons. And horizons, by their nature, recede as you approach them. Every answer opens new questions. Every discovery reveals new mysteries. The edge of the known is always moving, always just out of reach, always inviting us to keep exploring. This is the condition we find ourselves in. Not knowing everything, not even close, but knowing enough to ask good questions. Knowing enough to recognize how much we do not know. And that is not a defeat. It is a gift. It is what makes the universe endlessly interesting, endlessly surprising, endlessly worthy of attention. And now, as we approach the end of this journey, let us bring it back to where we began. To you, lying in the dark, listening to these words, letting your thoughts drift. The question of what lies beyond the universe is not one that needs to be answered tonight. It is not a problem to be solved. It is a companion, a presence, a way of holding the vastness gently, without needing to grasp it completely. You have traveled far in your imagination tonight. You have traced the edges of the observable universe. You have felt the slow stretch of expansion. You have glimpsed the invisible forces that shape everything. You have touched the ancient impulse to wonder, the same impulse that moved your ancestors to look up at the same sky and ask the same questions. And now you can rest. The universe is still there. It will be there in the morning. The stars will still be burning. The galaxies will still be drifting. The mystery will still be waiting, patient and quiet, ready for you whenever you return. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to have answers. You only need to let yourself be part of it, to feel your connection to the whole, to recognize that your smallness is not insignificance but belonging. The atoms in your body were forged in stars that died before the earth existed. The light that reaches your eyes has traveled across unimaginable distances. The forces that hold you together are the same forces that hold galaxies together. You are made of the universe. You are not separate from it. You are an expression of it, a way for the cosmos to know itself, to wonder about itself, to ask questions that have no final answers. And that is enough. That is more than enough. Let the mystery hold you now. Let it be a soft place, a gentle darkness, a silence that does not need to be filled. The question of what lies beyond is yours. You do not have to answer it. You only have to carry it, lightly, like a gift you have not yet opened. The night is deep. The stars are far. And you are here, breathing slowly, resting quietly, part of everything. Sleep now, if sleep will come. Let your thoughts soften. Let the edges blur. The universe will keep its watch. The question will wait. And when you wake, the sky will still be there. The mystery will still be there. And you will be there too, ready or not, invited to wonder again. The cosmos is patient. And so are you. The stillness remains. It has been here all along, holding everything gently, asking nothing in return. And if you are still with me, still drifting somewhere in the soft space between waking and sleep, then let us continue a little further. There is no urgency. There never was. The universe has been patient for billions of years. It can be patient a little longer. And so can we. We have wandered through vast territories tonight. We have traced the edges of what can be seen, the horizon of the observable universe, that invisible boundary drawn not by walls but by time and light. We have felt the slow expansion of space, the way everything drifts apart like memories fading into distance. We have touched the invisible forces that shape the cosmos, dark matter holding galaxies together, dark energy pushing everything apart. And we have glimpsed the ancient human tradition of wondering, the same impulse that moved our ancestors to look up and ask what lies beyond. But there are still places we have not visited, still ideas waiting quietly in the dark, asking to be considered. And since you are here, since the night is still deep and the stars are still burning, let us wander a little further together. Let us talk about shape. Not the shape of things within the universe, not the spirals of galaxies or the curves of planetary orbits, but the shape of the universe itself. The geometry of everything. The form that existence takes when you step back far enough to see the whole. This is a strange idea to hold. We are used to thinking of shapes as properties of objects, things we can see and touch and measure. A ball is round. A table is flat. A mountain rises and falls. But the universe is not an object in the ordinary sense. It is not sitting inside something larger. It has no outside. And yet it has a shape. A geometry that determines how space curves, how distances work, how light travels across the vastness. For most of human history, this question did not arise. The universe was simply there, a backdrop for events, a stage on which the drama of existence played out. But in the early 20th century, a quiet man with unruly hair changed everything. He showed that space and time are not fixed and absolute. They are flexible. They bend and stretch and curve in response to matter and energy. And if space can curve, then the universe as a whole must have some overall geometry, some shape that describes how it fits together. There are three main possibilities that scientists consider. The first is that the universe is flat. Not flat like a table, which has edges and sits in a larger room, but flat in a geometric sense. In a flat universe, parallel lines stay parallel forever. The angles of a triangle add up to exactly 180 degrees. Light travels in straight lines that never curve back on themselves. Space goes on and on, possibly forever, without bending or folding. The second possibility is that the universe is curved like the surface of a sphere. In this geometry, parallel lines eventually meet. The angles of a triangle add up to more than 180 degrees. And if you traveled far enough in one direction, you would eventually return to where you started, having circled the entire cosmos without ever hitting an edge. This kind of universe is finite but unbounded. It has a definite size, a measurable volume, but no boundary, no wall, no place where space stops. The third possibility is that the universe is curved the opposite way, like a saddle. In this geometry, parallel lines diverge. The angles of a triangle add up to less than 180 degrees. Space spreads outward, opening up, stretching in ways that are difficult to visualize. This kind of universe would also be infinite, but with a different character than flat space, a different feel to its vastness. Which of these describes our universe? The answer, as far as we can tell, is that space is very close to flat. When scientists measure the geometry of the cosmos, using the patterns in the cosmic microwave background, using the distribution of galaxies, using the way light bends around massive objects, they find that the curvature is extremely small. So small that it might be exactly zero. The universe appears to be flat, or so close to flat that we cannot detect any curvature. But this does not settle the question entirely. Because flat geometry is consistent with multiple possibilities. The universe could be infinite, stretching endlessly in every direction, never curving back, never repeating. Or it could be finite but with a topology that wraps around in ways that mimic flatness locally. Imagine a sheet of paper rolled into a cylinder. Locally, the paper is still flat. But globally, it connects back to itself. The universe could work similarly, flat in its local geometry but wrapped in higher dimensions, finite in extent but without edges. We do not know which of these is true. We may never know. The universe does not always give us the information we need to answer our questions. It offers clues, hints, partial glimpses. And sometimes those glimpses are enough. But sometimes they are not. And perhaps that is acceptable. Perhaps not knowing the shape of everything is part of what makes the question beautiful. It leaves room for wonder. It keeps the mystery alive. It reminds us that the cosmos is larger than our theories, more complex than our models, more patient than our curiosity. Let us sit with that for a moment. The shape of the universe. The geometry of existence. These are not small ideas. They stretch the mind in ways that can feel uncomfortable at first. But if you let them settle, if you hold them gently without demanding resolution, they can become something else. Not problems to solve, but landscapes to wander through. Not puzzles, but invitations. The universe has a shape. We do not fully know what it is. And that is part of what makes it worth thinking about. Now let us turn to something even stranger. Something that takes the question of what lies beyond and multiplies it infinitely. We touched on this earlier, when we spoke of the multiverse, of the possibility that our universe is not alone. But let us go deeper now. Let us follow the thread further and see where it leads. The idea of parallel realities sounds like science fiction. It sounds like fantasy, like something invented for stories rather than discovered through observation. But the remarkable thing is that it arises naturally from our best theories of physics. It is not something scientists invented because they wanted the universe to be strange. It is something they encountered when they followed the equations wherever they led. One path to parallel realities comes from quantum mechanics. At the smallest scales, the behavior of matter is governed by probability. A particle does not have a definite position until it is measured. It exists in a superposition, a blend of multiple possibilities, until observation forces it to choose. This is not a metaphor. It is a precise mathematical description that has been confirmed by countless experiments. But what happens to the possibilities that are not chosen? What becomes of the particle that could have been here but ended up there? One interpretation, proposed decades ago and still debated today, suggests that all possibilities are realized. Every time a quantum event occurs, the universe branches. In one branch, the particle goes left. In another, it goes right. Both branches are real. Both continue to evolve. And the observer in each branch sees only their own outcome, unaware of the other. If this interpretation is correct, then the universe is constantly splitting. Every quantum event, every measurement, every interaction creates new branches. The number of parallel realities would be unimaginably large, growing every moment, each one as real as the one you inhabit now. This is difficult to accept. It defies our intuition. We experience one world, one history, one sequence of events. The idea that there are countless other versions of ourselves, living slightly different lives, making different choices, feels almost absurd. And yet the mathematics allows it. The equations do not forbid it. Whether it is true remains an open question, but it is a question that serious scientists take seriously. Another path to parallel realities comes from cosmology, from the study of the universe's birth and evolution. We spoke earlier of inflation, the rapid expansion that smoothed out the early cosmos. Some versions of inflation suggest that it did not stop everywhere at once. That in some regions, expansion continued, creating new bubbles of space, new universes, each one potentially different from ours. If this is true, then beyond the horizon of our observable universe, beyond even the regions we will never see, there may be entirely separate cosmos. Not just more space, not just more galaxies, but genuinely different realms, with different histories, different physical constants, different possibilities. These bubble universes would not be connected to ours in any ordinary sense. You could not travel to them. You could not send a message. They would be elsewhere in a way that transcends distance, separated not by space but by the structure of reality itself. And yet they would be real. As real as the room you are lying in now. As real as the stars outside your window. Their existence would be a fact about the cosmos, even if it is a fact we can never verify directly. This is one of the strangest aspects of modern physics. It suggests possibilities that may be true but unprovable. It pushes against the boundaries of what science can claim to know. And it raises questions that are as much philosophical as they are physical. What does it mean for something to exist if we can never observe it? What does it mean for reality to include realms we can never access? These are not questions with easy answers. They sit at the edge of human understanding, inviting us to think more carefully about what we mean by knowledge, by existence, by truth. And perhaps that is enough. Perhaps the value of these ideas lies not in resolving them but in holding them, in letting them stretch our imagination, in recognizing that the universe may be far larger, far stranger, far more abundant than we ever supposed. The multiverse, if it exists, would be the ultimate answer to the question of what lies beyond. Beyond our horizon lies more space. Beyond that, perhaps, lies other universes. And beyond those, who knows? The chain of beyond might never end. It might stretch infinitely in every direction, an endless flowering of possibility, a cosmos without limit. Or it might not. The multiverse might be a beautiful idea that turns out to be false. The parallel realities might be mathematical ghosts, arising from our equations but not from nature. We do not know. We may never know. But the wondering is real. The question is real. And the willingness to ask, to imagine, to reach past the edges of certainty, that is one of the most remarkable things about being human. Let that thought settle. Let it rest beside you in the dark, strange and quiet, like a distant star whose light you cannot quite make out. Now let us bring this journey closer to home. Let us talk about how these vast ideas connect to the life you are living, to the breath you are taking, to the moment you are experiencing right now. It is easy to think of cosmology as something remote, something that happens out there, far away, in regions that have nothing to do with your daily existence. But this is not true. The universe's limits, its structure, its history, these shape everything, including you. Consider the speed of light. It seems like an abstract constant, a number in a physics textbook. But it determines how information travels. It sets the pace of causality. It means that when you look at anything, even something across the room, you are seeing it as it was a tiny fraction of a second ago. The present moment, in a strict sense, is always slightly out of reach. You live in a continuous flow of the recent past, reconstructed by your brain into the illusion of now. On larger scales, this same limit creates the horizons we have discussed. It determines which parts of the universe can communicate, which regions can influence each other, which events can be causes and which can only be effects. The structure of time itself, the way past and future relate, is shaped by this single constant. Consider gravity. It seems like a simple force, the thing that keeps your feet on the ground, that makes apples fall from trees. But gravity is also what holds galaxies together, what shapes the orbits of planets, what bends light around massive objects, what creates black holes where space curves so steeply that nothing can escape. The same force that keeps you lying comfortably in bed is the force that sculpts the largest structures in the cosmos. And gravity is connected to the shape of space itself. The curvature we discussed earlier, the geometry of the universe, these are expressions of gravity on the grandest scale. When you lie still and feel the gentle pull of the earth beneath you, you are experiencing a tiny local manifestation of the same phenomenon that determines whether the universe is flat or curved, finite or infinite. Consider the atoms in your body, the carbon in your cells, the oxygen in your lungs, the iron in your blood. None of these existed at the beginning of the universe. In the first moments after the Big Bang, there was only hydrogen, the simplest element, and a little helium. Everything heavier, everything more complex, was forged later. In the hearts of stars, in the violence of supernova explosions, in the slow accumulation of stellar generations, each one creating heavier elements and scattering them into space when it died. The atoms that make up your body are billions of years old. They have been part of stars, part of interstellar clouds, part of the disk of gas and dust that eventually became the solar system. They have traveled across the galaxy, carried by the slow currents of cosmic evolution. And now, for this brief moment, they are arranged in a pattern that is you. A pattern that can think and wonder and ask questions about the universe that created it. This is not poetry. It is physics. It is the literal truth about where you came from and what you are made of. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are an expression of it. A way for the universe to know itself. Consider expansion. The slow stretching of space that carries galaxies apart. It seems distant, irrelevant to daily life. But expansion is why the universe is the way it is. It is why there is room for galaxies to form, for stars to burn, for planets to orbit, for life to emerge. Without expansion, without the cooling and thinning that it brings, the cosmos would have remained a hot, dense fog, uniform and featureless, incapable of producing anything interesting. The very fact that you exist, that there is a you to lie here and wonder, is a consequence of expansion. The structure of the universe, its history, its laws, these are not background details. They are the conditions that made your existence possible. And consider time, the finite age of the universe. The fact that it has a history, a beginning, a sequence of events that led from the Big Bang to now. This is not just a fact about cosmology. It is a fact about the nature of existence. It means that everything has a story, that nothing is eternal in the way we sometimes imagine, that even the universe itself is in the middle of a journey, moving from past to future, evolving, changing, becoming. You are part of that journey. Your life is a chapter in a story that began nearly 14 billion years ago and will continue for billions more. You did not choose to be here. You did not ask to exist. But here you are, conscious, aware, capable of reflecting on the vast improbable chain of events that brought you into being. This is what it means for the universe's limits to shape our lives. They are not distant abstractions. They are the very fabric of our existence. The speed of light, the force of gravity, the atoms in our bodies, the expansion of space, the finite age of the cosmos, these are the conditions that make everything possible. Including the question we have been asking all night: what lies beyond the universe? The question itself is a product of the universe. It arises from minds that the cosmos created, using matter that the cosmos forged, in a corner of space that the cosmos expanded. When you ask what lies beyond, you are the universe wondering about itself. You are the cosmos looking outward, trying to see past its own edges, trying to understand what it is and what it might become. There is something almost sacred in this. Not in a religious sense, but in the sense of something precious, something rare, something worthy of attention. Out of all the matter in the cosmos, only a tiny fraction has organized itself into beings who can ask questions. Only a small part of the universe is awake, aware, curious. And you are part of that small part. This does not make you special in the sense of being separate or superior. It makes you special in the sense of being improbable, of being a rare configuration, a brief pattern, a momentary arrangement of atoms that can wonder about the whole. The universe is vast and mostly empty, mostly silent, mostly unaware. But here, in this small corner, something remarkable has happened. The cosmos has produced creatures who can look back at it and ask what lies beyond. Let that thought rest. Let it be a kind of quiet amazement, a gentle recognition of how strange and beautiful it is to be here at all. And now let us talk about imagination. Because imagination is not separate from science. It is essential to it. When we think of science, we often think of experiments and data, of careful measurements and rigorous analysis. And these are crucial. Science is grounded in evidence. It does not accept claims without support. It tests ideas against reality and discards those that fail. But before an idea can be tested, it must be imagined. Before an experiment can be designed, someone must picture a possibility. The greatest breakthroughs in science have come not just from careful observation but from creative leaps, from moments when someone dared to imagine that reality might be different than it appeared. Consider the idea that the Earth moves around the Sun. For thousands of years, people assumed the opposite. The sun rose and set. The stars wheeled overhead. It seemed obvious that we were standing still and everything else was moving. But a few individuals imagined otherwise. They pictured the Earth as a sphere hurtling through space, spinning on its axis, orbiting a star. This was not obvious. It was not supported by immediate perception. It was an act of imagination, tested later by observation, confirmed by evidence, but born first in the mind. Consider the idea that light is both a wave and a particle. That matter can exist in multiple states at once. That space and time are woven together into a single fabric that bends under the weight of mass. None of these ideas are intuitive. None of them arise naturally from everyday experience. They are products of imagination, disciplined by mathematics, confirmed by experiment, but originating in the creative reach of the human mind. The question of what lies beyond the universe is also an act of imagination. We cannot observe what is past the horizon. We cannot measure the shape of the entire cosmos. We cannot visit other universes or verify the existence of parallel realities. These are ideas that stretch past the edges of evidence into the realm of possibility. And yet they are not mere fantasy. They are grounded in our best theories. They arise from equations that have been tested in countless ways. They are imaginative, but they are also disciplined. They reach past what we know while remaining connected to it. This is the nature of scientific imagination. It is not free-floating. It is not unconstrained. It reaches outward while keeping one foot on solid ground. It proposes possibilities and then asks how they might be tested. It dreams, but it also checks. And this is why imagination is so essential to the question we have been exploring. The beyond is not accessible to direct observation. It may never be, but it is accessible to thought. It is accessible to the creative reach of minds that evolved in a small corner of the cosmos but can imagine the whole. When you wonder about what lies beyond the universe, you are exercising this capacity. You are doing something that no telescope can do, something that no instrument can achieve. You are imagining possibilities, holding them gently, allowing them to stretch your sense of what might be real. This is not a small thing. It is one of the most remarkable abilities that has ever emerged in the cosmos. The universe has produced beings who can imagine beyond their own experience, beyond their own perception, beyond the limits of their own existence. This is extraordinary. This is worth celebrating. This is part of what makes being human meaningful. And now, as we approach the end of this long journey, let us bring it to rest. We have traveled far tonight. We have traced the edges of the observable universe. We have felt the slow expansion of space. We have touched the invisible forces that shape everything. We have wondered about the geometry of existence, the possibility of parallel realities, the limits of knowledge, the role of imagination. And through it all, the question has remained: what lies beyond the universe? Not as a problem demanding solution, but as a companion, a presence, a way of holding the vastness gently, without needing to grasp it completely. The truth is, we do not know what lies beyond. We may never know. The horizon is real, and it recedes as we approach it. The limits of physics are real, and they may never be transcended. The mysteries are real, and they may outlast us. But the not knowing is not a failure. It is a condition of existence. It is what makes the question worth asking. It is what keeps curiosity alive. The universe does not owe us answers. It does not promise completeness. It offers itself as it is, vast and strange and beautiful, and it invites us to wonder. That invitation is enough. That invitation is everything. You have been wondering tonight. You have let your mind wander through ideas larger than any single thought can contain. You have participated in the oldest human tradition, the tradition of looking up and asking what is out there. And in doing so, you have connected yourself to every person who has ever asked the same question, across every age and every culture. The mystery is yours now, not to solve, but to hold, not to answer, but to carry. It is a gift, passed down through generations, and you will pass it on in turn. The question will outlive you. It will outlive all of us. But for this moment, it is yours. And that is enough. Let the night hold you now. Let the darkness be soft, like a blanket, like a held breath. The stars are still burning. The galaxies are still drifting. The universe is still expanding, still evolving, still becoming whatever it will become. And you are here, breathing slowly, resting quietly, part of everything. The question of what lies beyond does not need an answer tonight. It needs only your attention, your wonder, your willingness to sit with mystery. And you have given it these things. You have held the question gently. You have let it stretch your imagination. You have allowed yourself to be small against the vastness and found that smallness is not emptiness but belonging. Sleep now, if sleep will come. Let your thoughts soften. Let the edges blur. The universe will keep its watch. The stars will keep their burning. And the question will wait, patient as it has always been, until you are ready to return. You are made of the cosmos. You are an expression of its creativity. You are a way for existence to know itself. And tonight, you have done that knowing. You have wondered. You have imagined. You have reached past the edges of certainty and touched something larger. That is enough. That is more than enough. The night is deep. The silence is gentle. And somewhere, beyond everything you can see, the universe continues. Vast and quiet and full of secrets. Rest now. The mystery will be here in the morning. And so will you. Good night.